Interesting. You should name that. That aside, I actually look at Ultima, Akalabeth and Ultimas 1, 2, 3. All three of those. You called Ultima 2 a serious game. I actually look at that still, and it was still, Ultima 2 was inspired by Time Bandits.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some more Lord of the Rings was through all of those, and D&Ds and all of those, but there were probably 2 or 3 other movies that I was plagiarizing out of, Star Wars went a lot into Ultima 1.
Homaging. When you're when you're an auteur and you're stealing, it's called homage.
Oh yeah, homage. Yes, I had a lot of homage in the storylines of those early Ultimas. It really wasn't until Ultima 4 that I actually sat down and said, Bobbits, you're out. And in fact, by the way, when they went out, so did all the elves and dwarves, and all the Tolkien stuff went away. And I said, look, I want to invent an internally self-consistent game and story and world from the ground up.
Second question, why do you hate boss monsters so much?
Why do I hate boss monsters?
Yeah.
Oh, well, when you think about most boss monsters in most games, they hang out waiting for you to come kill them. They don't do anything to be being worthy of being called a boss or a monster.
Yeah.
And in fact, what you usually do is run around and kill all the villagers and me and everything else necessary to min-max your way to the top.
Well, I should explain to the people at home, his games never have boss monsters in them, like, ever. Past Ultima 2...
Well,
3,
Exodus.
You don't fight Exodus, you throw punch cards at him. You're like, eat this, Exodus, go back to hell. But you don't fight, I don't think you fight a boss monster until, like, Ultima Underworld 2.
Yeah. Oh, that's
maybe
true.
I think that's just a henchman.
Yeah,
and that's not even the boss. You fight the Guardian, but even that's just kind of a puzzle.
Right.
And I'm not diminishing that. Well, kind of no. But there's almost never a boss you overcome through sheer force of like arms.
Well, not as the final, but don't forget the Shadow Lords that are behind you there.
You don't overcome them with force.
Well, that's true. But how many things in life do you overcome with force?
Well, you can overcome almost anything with force. But I mean, let me put it this way: almost every other RPG, like in the world, has a final boss. It has a demon at the end you must slay. It has, and this one, in almost all of your games, it ends. I won't say necessarily non-violently, but I think the only end boss that I can remember that ends with the brutal killing of an end boss is in Martian Dreams, where you jackhammer to death the end boss with an M60 machine gun.
Right. Yeah.
And you chop him into pieces with it. And I think that's like the only end boss you kill violently.
That's a very good point. And maybe it comes out of the fact that maybe it's still part of my response to those earliest days where, most every fantasy role-playing game written has the following super simple, in my mind, terrible plot.
Mm-hmm.
You're the hero because you're told so in the beginning. Your job is to kill that big boss henchman.
Go kill.
The henchman waits for you to come kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Along the way, you pillage and plunder and min-max your way to the strength required to kill him. Ta-da, game's over. And I'm going like, man, there's just got to be a better game than that. There has to be a better story to tell than that. And so, while I don't think I really have anything specifically against boss monsters, I don't really have much of an interest in them. It seems like, it just becomes strong enough to kill a boss monster. Okay, that's interesting, but that's the same as every other story. And maybe that's because it's a tried and true and important part of the story. You could argue.
Yeah.
But for me anyway, I've not been compelled to follow that model.
Well, even in a lot of cases, you've got games where there's not even a villain,
or where you might be the villain.
Yeah. So like in Ultima 4 and 5, you've got the Shadow Lords, but they're not even really. And you got Blackthorn, but he's not even really the villain. He's being duped. He's duped.
He's being duped.
The Shadow Lords are just kind of, they're the ones duping him, but ultimately, at the end, you just go to the bottom of the abyss, and Lord British is kind of hanging out in the pocket dimension, and he's just like, hey, did you bring my box?
But but the way I look at it is, like, if you think about contemporary society right now, like, it's probably better to avoid naming any politicians that you do or do not like, or at least I won't mention the ones I do or do not like, but there's some I like, and there's some I absolutely don't.
Sure.
And there's some that I think are incredibly misguided, and I think are doing incredible destruction to society. But I don't think they think they're doing damage to society. And I wouldn't exactly call them usually evil.
No, and there's something somebody told me that it was an author, I can't remember which author, it might have actually been Harlan Ellison, who said that everybody's the hero of their own story.
Right.
Nobody thinks they're the villain.
Right.
Everyone thinks they're doing the right thing, unless they're insane.
Right.
Unless they're like, I'm
Which, by the way, there are people that way. And so there really are people that you describe as evil. And what's interesting is, even though I think there's... It's funny, I don't label people as evil lightly.
No.
But I actually think, there's a couple people in my business career that I look at and I've gone, okay, that person knows that what they're really doing is harmful. And they're doing it because they believe they can get away with it, and it's to their business advantage. But there's no way they can think that it is fair in a, if you're a good person with any reasonable interpretation of what fair is. And so we're like, okay, that person, they started crossing this line into the dark side.
Yeah.
And I think, business and profits occasionally drive people that way.
Oh, yeah.
And so that there are some people out there, I think, have crossed that line.
Yeah.
You want to do what, Harriet?
Well, I just want the Ultima 8 cloth map to match the world in the game, like we did with all the other Ultimates.
Why?
Well, because if it doesn't match, then people won't be able to use the cloth map to guide them through gameplay in the game.
Whatever, who cares? It's a map! Do you know how much it costs me to put these in each game? $2! Why can't you make your game more like sports games? They ship on time every year, and then they just put the content in afterwards.
Well, this is Ultima, it's a role-playing game, it requires the time.
Role-playing game? What the hell is that?
But these games take a little longer.
No, it doesn't matter. Just ship the game the way it is. Get out of my office.
Okay.
Frodo, make the game on time when I say.
So, I lost track of what we were talking about.
Evilness. Bad guys.